A game that backs up its wealth of content with an addictive, well-thought-out gameplay loop can be a dangerous prospect, especially if you have a life and plan on living it. Because if a game like that gets its claws into you, there's a good chance that it isn't going to let go for potentially hundreds upon hundreds of hours. This is a feature dedicated to such game. Given just how many games we could have picked, this obviously isn't a comprehensive list by any stretch of the imagination. Nonetheless, here are some recent games that we've clocked an obscene amount of hours into in relative recent years. Monster Hunter World. We could have gone with any one of the recent Monster Hunter games, but we're going with World for obvious reasons. Up to this point, it's the best iteration of the series' excellent formula. Large and seamless maps, an impressive roster of incredibly designed monsters that are magnificent to behold as they're a joy to fight, and insanely addictive gameplay loop revolving around killing progressively stronger monsters, so you can use their parts to make progressively stronger gear, which will help you kill progressively stronger monsters, and on and on and on. Especially with its Iceborne expansion included, this is a game that can have you occupied for a startling amount of time. Destiny 2. This one is kind of an obvious pick, given that there's literally millions of players out there who have poured hundreds upon hundreds, if not even more hours of their time into Destiny 2 and all of its multitudes of updates and expansions over the last 7 years. The looter shooter has, of course, had its fair share of ups and downs, to say the very least, but from its ongoing narrative offerings to the meatiness of its live operations to its typically excellent shooter and looter mechanics, and so much more. Destiny 2 ultimately never falls short of ways to make sure that people keep coming back and putting their time into the game. Helldivers 2. No one, not even Sony or Arrowhead Game Studios, could have predicted that Helldivers 2 could have taken off the way that it has. But now that we're all more than familiar with the game, we can see why, given how dangerously addictive and endlessly fun it is. Helldivers 2 has had such a hold over so many people for so long. The core of the experience is an insanely strong one to begin with, which means fighting machines and bugs never loses its thrills. But the excellent usage of co-op mechanics, meaningful challenge, and some of the best live service support and ongoing storytelling we've ever seen for any game elevated from being a merely great game to an outright unforgettable one. One that we still can't tear ourselves away from. Dead Cells. Evil Empire kept Dead Cells going for over half a decade, which in of itself should be a testament to how successful the game was able to retain its players' interest. Those who got into the masterful roguelike really got into it, clocking in multiple hundreds of hours and taking on all of its many challenges across a steady stream of updates and expansions. Even in its original launch from Dead Cells was the sort of game that you could lose yourself in endlessly. But with all of the post-launch content, that's much more than doubly true. Pokemon Legends Arceus. Pokemon games have never been strangers to keeping players hooked for endless hours on the back of an addictive loop, and Pokemon Legends Arceus carries forward that tradition proudly and spectacularly. In so many fundamental ways, this is a game that deviates from the series' traditional formula radically. But all of those changes work out for the best, making an experience where exploring every nook and cranny of the multiple open-world maps remains an absolute please from beginning to end, as does catching the many Pokemon that inhabit these maps. It's easily one of the best and most dangerously addictive Pokemon games that we've played in ages. Football Manager 2024. This is another obvious pick. Year over year, millions pour an inordinate number of hours into Football Manager games. Owing to their very nature, these games are obviously not for everyone, and unless you have a deep love for both the sport of football and the genre of the management sims, there's a strong chance that they won't be for you either. But if you do fall in both of those groups, Football Manager is the sort of game that will almost become a second job for you. Even when you're away from the game, you'll be thinking about the critical fixture coming up in a few weeks' time, or the training plan that you're carefully curating for one of your players. or the exciting Wonder Kid prospect that you've been scouting and are on the verge of signing for your academy. Forza Horizon 5. It's an absolute shame that arcade racers are uncommon in today's day and age as they are, because when one of them gets made with the full backing of a AAA production, they can be truly special. Exhibit A, Forza Horizon 5, or really any of the Forza Horizon games. Playground Games' massive open-world racer is easily one of the best the genre has ever seen, thanks in large part to the staggering level of quality it consistently displays across all of its massive offerings. Even though, ordinarily, you would expect plenty of dilution in such a situation, every minute that you spend behind the wheel in Forza Horizon 5 is an absolute joy. Which is why it's just so darn easy to spend an eternity doing just that. Stardew Valley. There was absolutely no way that we weren't going to talk about Stardew Valley here. Widely regarded as a proper modern masterpiece and one of the greatest games ever made, this indie gem is the definition of a time sink. It's a mind-bogglingly large and deep experience with so much going on, and all of it boasting an incredible amount of depth. On top of obviously managing a farm, Stardew Valley has you doing everything from becoming better friends with an endearing cast of NPCs to exploring labyrinthian dungeons and so much more. There's a sizable contingent of players that have spent forever playing this game and will likely not be stopping anytime soon. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
俺の番だな。行くぜ。放電準備。
Many Yakuza or Like a Dragon games could have easily taken a spot on this list, but we're going with Infinite Wealth not just because it's fresh on our minds as the series' newest entry, but also because of how massive it is, and because of how ridiculously compelling so much of it is. There is of course the long and gripping main story, but outside of that, in typical Yakuza fashion, Infinite Wealth also offers, well, an infinite wealth of incredible minigames, side quests, and a bevy of side activities that could have easily been entire separate games unto themselves. This is a game that one could happily spend well over 100 hours in without batting an eye. Minecraft. Yeah, we're signing off with another obvious pick, but when it's this obvious, it's almost foolish not to talk about it, alright? Minecraft is obviously not geared for the crowd that is looking for a hardcore gaming experience, but that's the beauty of Minecraft. It's a stupidly massive game that can be anything, as simple or as complex as you want it to be. You just want to build things with no constraints? You want to mine the depths of the deepest and most terrifying dungeons? You want to play multiplayer? Solo? You want bite-sized gaming sessions? Longer sessions where you marathon for hours on end? Minecraft can be whatever game you need it to be, which is why it's so easy to spend just an obscene amount of hours playing it. Hey, did you know that we at Gaming Vault upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.